What's up, comic and pop culture fans? This is James with Midhunter Comics, and I just got a lead on a collection where the gentleman collected from about 1970 all the way to about the late 90s. And every single thing that you can think of in that time period, he has. With the exception of Tomb of Dracula and Werewolf by Night, full runs of everything. Giant Size X-Men 1, Hulk 181, Marvel Spotlight 5, you name it, it's in there. And he's selling his collection at a slow pace. So he wanted to kind of give me a trial run, and I actually picked up about a 10th of his collection, maybe a little bit less, maybe like a 15th of his collection, which is probably best for me because I don't think I can outright afford picking up that entire collection at once. But I'm presented with a unique opportunity because I got 8 short boxes full of nicely organized, bagged and boarded full runs. I get an opportunity to show you the keys of each run that I picked up. We got a new Mutants, we got an X Factor, we've got an Eternals, we've got Astonishing Tales, we've got a bunch of full runs in here. So I thought we'd take an opportunity to give you an idea of what to look for if you see these runs in the wild. I'm going to start us off with Marvel Fanfare. Not a particularly key-heavy run. In fact, I would say that the keys from this run are mainly all small keys. You have the first issue, notable solely just because it is a first issue. Now, what's interesting about this run is it was more expensive than the other books at the time. And that's because there were no ads. Pretty neat. Next up is probably the biggest one from the whole run. It's number 11. Now, this is the first appearance of Iron Maiden, not the metal band you're thinking of, the one that was actually in the Black Widow movie played by Rachel Weisz. Number 12 follows it up pretty nicely. That's the first full appearance or second appearance and first cover appearance, first appearance of Snapdragon right there. And then the only other somewhat notably valuable book in the rest of the run is in the second to last issue, solely just because of its cover. It's a desirable cover by Joe Chiodo of Shauna the She-Devil. Now, I don't know too much about the character, but I did see that that one has the next highest value in the run. Those 4 issues are kind of the ones you want to keep an eye out. There are even smaller keys that you can grab up to. And this particular run did have some amazing covers if you want to check it out just for that purpose alone. Up next, as I said, I did pick up an entire run of Eternals. Now, Eternals only went to, I believe, 19 issues. It was not a particularly long run. This first one is probably the biggest one of the whole lot. It's first appearance of the Eternals, first appearance of Icarus, first Margot Damien, first Crow and Brother Toad, Deviants and Enemies of the Eternals. A lot going on in that one. That's still a nice key despite how far the book has fallen. And it's good to pick up, and that's an easy one to recognize here. I'm going to put a pause on the second issue. I'm going to show you only the bigger ones. The second biggest one is the first appearance of Cersei, first cover appearance of Icarus as well. This issue number 3 is a good one to find, and that one is in particularly good condition, so that was awesome. Then we have the first cover appearance of Cersei and the first appearance of Gamorrean the Gatherer. There's going to be a bunch of Celestial first appearances in this run. Now, what's interesting, if you go on Key Collector for Eternals, practically every issue is something. They were introducing new Celestials and this and that's in every single one, like this one. First Macaulay, first Domo, first Thana, first Zoras. There's a lot of appearances, a lot of characters in the Eternals title. This is the one that is the first mention of the One Above All, who is the leader of the Celestials. First appearance of Tefral the Surveyor, a couple other notable Celestials in that. That's a big character, the One Above All for sure. Mid-level here. First appearance of Druid, Lord of Flames and Nightmares. First appearance of Kingo, Samurai Swordsmaster. First appearance of the Delphon brothers. Okay, Delphon brothers are like the opposites of the Eternals. And then I think the only other bigger one is the first appearance of the Unimind. That's a gift from the Celestials that allow the Eternals to telepathically commute with one another. There are a lot of keys in this run, quite frankly, but those are the ones that you want to be on the lookout for. Practically every single issue, if it's in high grade like these, is going to have some value. First Cosmic Hulk robot. There's a lot going on in this run. 16, 17 are not keys, but then 18 first Tiamat the Communicator and Xeron the Tester. So every single issue, here's the final issue of the run. And then the annual is actually a small key as well. I believe there was only one annual from the Eternals run, and I think that's it. Number 1. X Factor is a kind of a funny one because with X Factor, you have many issues. It went over, I think, 150 issues or close to it. I forget the exact number. And there's not a ton of value in X Factor, which is why comic shops often joke about XForce and X Factor because, like, that one's not really the payday one, but there are a couple notable ones, mainly number 1, which is the first team appearance of X Factor, first Cameron Hodge and Rusty Collins. It is a nice, very affordable $10 to $15 book if you've got it in the perfect grade. Number 5, however, is the first cameo of Apocalypse and the first team appearance of the Alliance of Evil. That's a nice one. You're probably going to be spending like $25 on it if it's in really nice condition at your local comic book shop. It's a good one to find, too, if you're doing dollar bin diving. This one you probably won't find in the dollar bins. Everyone knows it. It's the first full appearance and cover of Apocalypse. That's got a nice $60, $75 value right there. That's a big boy book, especially in a high grade like that. You will be spending up for that. And from pretty much here on out, the rest of the run dives into like $10 or below and for the keys, and then the rest are like 50-cent books. 23 is the first full team appearance of the Horsemen of the Apocalypse and the first full appearance of Angel as the Horseman. Death later becomes Archangel. Now, this is a controversial one because people always said this one, 24, was the first Archangel. It kind of is 23. You can kind of go both ways. Obviously, people like to side with 24 because it's the better cover. But those are the ones you want to look out for. Basically, those 5 books. 1, 5, 6, 23, and 24. The rest, not much value in there, but that's okay. I did also get the complete run of the mini-series Vision and the Scarlet Witch. This is volume 1. Actually, the more famous volume is volume 2 with Steve Englehart. This is the first one. And there is some value there. Nothing crazy, though. If you find it, try to see if you can't find all 4 issues. It does sell nicely as a bundle. Up next is a Bronze Age run, which you don't see too much. It's Supervillain Team Up, which is where they had Doctor Doom and Submariner. I've got issue number 7, Origin of the Shroud. Issue number, I think, 5 is the first appearance of the Shroud. I don't know why. I think I grabbed the wrong book to show you guys, quite honestly. And I do have number 1, first issue. Now, that's about it. There really ain't too much value in that title other than that. I mean, there's I think, Doctor Doom versus the Hulk. But other than that, Supervillain Team Up is a pretty scarce one in terms of value. Now we're about to enter the land of Moon Knight, and I'm going to go in descending order. The final issues of Moon Knight Volume 3, also known as Mark Spector Moon Knight, are the most valuable ones. It was Stephen Platt came on to start doing some of the covers, and a lot of them have really dark spines, and they're just iconic, desirable covers. That one is the final issue. That's a nightmare to get graded because it is, after all, a black spine. This is probably the most valuable one. It's an ASM 300 homage. It's issue 57 by Stephen Platt. That's got a lot of value. It's a Spidey key. It's an homage cover. Very desirable one and a tough one to get the 9.8 for. Same thing with 56, very tough to get. And then the first Stephen Platt on Moon Knight right here is 55. That actually has a value all the way up to about $100 raw. Pretty crazy. It's got to be that cream of the crop condition, though. Moving on, before Stephen Platt joined, we have the first appearance of Randall Spector, who's the brother of Moon Knight, issue 35. And that's about it for the Mark Spector run, other than maybe picking up like issue 1. Those are the keys that you want to try to pick up if you see these in the wild. From the second Moon Knight volume, it's a good idea to pick up number 1. I'm mainly showcasing issue number 2 because it's the first appearance of Arthur Harrow, who was the big bad in the Moon Knight TV series. That's a good one, especially in that grade. You're probably going to be spending anywhere from $20 to $30 at your local comic book shop for a nice gradable copy. That's a good one, and keep an eye out for it. Now, quite frankly, the first run of Moon Knight is so littered with keys, I could have showed you almost every single book. And I say keys mainly because Bill Sienkiewicz did a lot of the covers, and they're considered very desirable. So a lot of the Moon Knight covers actually fetch like a $20 to $25 value, even with no key significance. They're just keys because of its desirable cover. This is a scarce final issue right there, and that's actually got like a $40 value right there. The Moon Knight books will always surprise you. Issue 29 right here, iconic Bill Sienkiewicz cover featuring the Werewolf by Night. And I really wanted to show you this next one, and as you can see, I actually still have the flap open. I didn't tape it down. Why? That's because I'm submitting that one to CGC. First appearance of the Black Spectre, and this is actually the error printing. If your copy has a white dot somewhere around here on your book, that is actually a mistake. That is an error printing. It's not crazy more rare. It's honestly probably like a third or a fourth of the runs have it. So it's nothing too wild, but if you see it, it does add a little bit of value. That one is perfect. It's going to CGC. Number 13 is the first battle between Daredevil and Moon Knight. And those two often go hand in hand, so that's a really good one to pick up. Not a $30 book in perfect condition. First appearance of Midnight Man. This is an interesting book because they thought it could be in the show before it came out. It was actually a failed speculation book. It still has some value. Some places will charge up to $30 for that book. And then obviously we have the big one, Moon Knight #1. It's the first ongoing Moon Knight series. Origin of Moon Knight, first appearance of Khonshu, first appearance of Bushman. There's a lot going on in that one. That one is ever so slightly not one I will be sending to CGC. But that is a solid $150 book. Some places might charge up to $200, and I can see that happening. It is a solid key. And if you certainly find that in the wild, good on you, because that's a pretty recognizable cover, and that one's not really getting past too many people. Next up, we did get a full run of Spectacular Spider-Man. Now, the second half of Spectacular Spider-Man is really spotty. There's hardly anything going on worth over a few bucks. So this is the kind of the last bigger key from Spectacular. It's 116, first full appearance of the Foreigner, who could actually be in the Craven movie. That's got a nice little value there. Anywhere from 30 to 40 bucks. It's actually one of the bigger valued keys from the entire run. 107 is the death of Jeanne DeWolf, and the first appearance of Sin Eater, Stanley Carter, former NYPD detective. That's a good one to catch on. Another one of these valuable for just the covers is 101. It's an iconic cover by John Burnett. Kind of does a little bit of that negative space things that are actually so popular now. So that's a good one to pick up. And now let's get into the Spot era. 100 is the second appearance or third appearance of Spot, milestone issue and cover art featuring the Spot. Here's the one that everyone wishes was the first full appearance of Spot. This is the last second appearance of Spot, but it is the first cover. That one's got some nice value, possibly a $25, $30 book right there. 98 is the first appearance of Spot. Very nice. But everybody wishes 97 or 98 and 99 were flip-flop. What are you going to do? And I think this is the last of the Spot ones. First cameo, Jonathan Owen, later becomes Spot. So they kind of stretched that out on a few issues, but at least there's several to look out for if you're out in the wild. Those are the ones you want. Now moving on, we have number 90, which actually ties with Marvel Team Up 141 for what they used to consider the first Black Suit Spidey. 252, it did officially come out 2 weeks prior to these books, so we have to give that one the crown. But this technically is a tie, because it did come out in the same month, of the first appearance of Black Suit Spidey. He's up there. You can see him on the top left. That's a good key to have, especially since it's a tie with Marvel Team Up in 141. I think Marvel 141 is the better book, but this one's still really nice. There are some keys earlier on. Here's the second appearance of Cloak and Dagger. And most of you care mainly about this one, the first appearance of Cloak and Dagger right there. First appearance of Cloak and Dagger is a sneaky one. There's some nice value there. More than you might think. Some places have charged all the way up to $100 for a nice crispy clean copy. I think the average is a little bit more like 70 bucks. Still, that ain't nothing. And that's a good one to have. I think the 9.8s do something crazy. Now this is actually the first Frank Miller Daredevil art right here. So that's a nice, another one of those artist keys right there. That's a good one. 24 is one that blew up somewhat recently. First appearance of the Hypno Hustler. This book was nothing for the last several decades, and then all of a sudden, boom, apparently it's something. We'll see if that actually comes to fruition. 22 is the first battle between Spidey and Moon Knight. Very nice. Watch out for that. That's got a sneaky value there. It's about a $25 book. We do have the first appearance of the White Tiger in comics. George Perez creation, first Hispanic superhero. That can go all the way up to a $50 book right there. It's a nice one to have. That is a gradable copy. I'm not sure what I want to do there. There's a few books I want to submit to CGC from this, but I almost don't want to separate them because they are full runs. If it wasn't full runs, if it was spotty, I'd do it in a second, but I don't know if I want to separate these books, man. First cameo of Hitman, and then first appearance of Hitman. So number 4 and 5, keep an eye out for those are good ones to get. And then finally we have number 1, which is Spectacular Spider-Man number 1. Now, it should look familiar because whenever they drew Tarantula in the 70s, they kept doing that one cover swipe from his first appearance. So I swear you've seen that on like several different books. This issue number 1 is the second ongoing Spider series. So that's pretty cool. Up next, we're going to hit you with the New Mutants. And starting from the end of the run, you know what I'm about to show. This is New Mutants 98. This is the first appearance of Deadpool, Gideon, and Copycat, who impersonates Domino. You know this as the first appearance of Deadpool. This is a very expensive book. You're probably going to be spending for like a perfect raw copy anywhere from $350 all the way to like $500. That ain't cheap. That's a big boy book right there. And the only other thing in the run that comes close is the first appearance of Cable, also the first appearance of the Mutant Liberation Front. Now, I have such a terrible luck with that book, but I will tell you, if I send anything to CGC, that is another one of them. 87 might go off. I'll give it one last shot to get the 9.8 of that book. I don't know why I had such a hard time. Watch out, though. That's like a $180, hell, maybe even $200 book in some comic shops. So if it's a perfect copy, that is. That is a sneaky one. Watch out for that first Cable. The 9.8s are almost pushing 1,000 too, so watch out. Underrated one, you know I like talking about underrated. We have the first cameo of Cable, first appearance of Strife, and the first cameo of the Mutant Liberation Front, which is the issue just before. It's 86. Nice little value there. Watch out for that one because it's an unassuming cover. You might be able to find that one. This cover's a little bit more well-known. First appearance of Legion. You're going to have a harder time, I think, picking that one up, but it's worth a shot. It's a pretty recognizable cover. It honestly looks like something out of the Sandman DC books. We got New Mutants 14. Ilyana Rasputin joins the New Mutants. Smaller key, maybe $10. Nothing too crazy. Good to find, though. You know why? Because no one recognizes that cover. No way. New Mutants number 1 is the first New Mutants issue. It's also the third team appearance of the New Mutants and the Origin of Karma. With key significance-wise, it's actually pretty low, but it does have a lot of value, mainly just because of its issue number 1 status. Sometimes those issue number 1s carry the value. In terms of the annuals, this is the biggest one. Annual number 2, first comic appearance and origin of Betsy Braddock, renamed Psylocke by Mojo. First appearance of Megan, also in U.S. Comics. For Psylocke, baby, there you go. That's the one Psylocke key that you probably want. Other than that, you have annual number 1, which is the first Leela Cheney mutant with the ability to teleport, who is also a rock star. That's got like a $10 to $15 value right there. People know what they are. They're a little bit harder to find. Annual number 2 is actually like a $100 book if it's in perfect condition. So not the easiest to find, but familiarize yourself with them just in case you ever do. I also got a full run of Contest of Champions, which is actually the first Marvel miniseries ever, which I just learned. I didn't know that going in. So that's pretty cool, I think. Now, Astonishing Tales is a run that a lot of people didn't pick up as much. So it's cool to find. And let me tell you, it was really cool finding every single issue from this. That's 29. That's the first reprint of the original Guardians of the Galaxy. Small significance there. 25 is the biggest one, I think, or maybe second biggest. First appearance of Deathlock, Luther Manning. First appearance of Major Riker. First published Marvel work by George Perez. I don't think I knew that. I don't remember that, but that's an extra cool significance to an already awesome key. That one's in particularly good shape. Watch out for the value on that. That gets pretty expensive fast. 24 is the third appearance of Fin Fang Foom, cover art featuring Fin Fang Foom, and just a nice Fin Fang Foom book to pick up. Astonishing Tales 23 is the second appearance of Fin Fang Foom, which is also a partial reprint of Strange Tales 89, along with new panels included, which feature Fin Fang Foom. Pretty cool. We'll keep it going with number 13, which is actually the first cover appearance of Man-Thing and the third appearance of Man-Thing. Now that one, I might have to send to CGC. Tell you why. It looks like a 9.8 white pager. There's not many that exist out there. I almost feel like I have a duty to do that one. The bigger key, or the biggest key, I should say, from the entire run is probably issue number 12. First appearance of Man-Thing in an actual standard comic book, meaning the second overall appearance of Man-Thing. First cover appearance of Bobby Morse. There's a lot going on here. Origin of Man-Thing. That's a big one. If you've got like a perfect looking copy, you're probably dropping like 350, maybe even 400 bucks on this thing. It's pretty expensive. But Black Spine, you're probably not ever going to find a perfect copy. I think this is the best we're going to get. This one's like a 9.0. We'll see what I can do after a clean and press. But like I said, I don't know. A lot of these books are so nice, I don't particularly want to separate them. Number 8, let's see what this is. First appearance of Cynthia Von Doom, mother of Dr. Doom. Bobby Morse, first introduced without a name in issue 6, which I have right here, is finally named. So Bobby Morse keys right here, and Dr. Doom's mommy. Okay. And then we have number 3, which is the first appearance of Zala Dane, Priestess. I'm really showing my Marvel knowledge right here. I don't think I know that character. Astonishing Tales number 1. Gorgeous copy, too. Double feature concept with separate stories starring Kazar and Dr. Doom. Those are very different characters. That was a unique choice. But hey, those are the ones you want to find. The biggest ones, probably 25, 12, 13. Number 1's cool because it's a number 1 from a not so commonly picked up title. Good ones to get. This is probably my favorite run from the entire pickup. Last but not least, I'm going to hit you with Micronauts. Now, there are basically 3 books you want to pick up. And he actually had the second volume, too, which I don't believe there are any keys from. So that is the final issue. What's it, 58 or 59? 59. I can't believe they went on that long. 59 is a nice one. It's scarce. It is the final issue. Sometimes firsts and final issues have the value. This is one of those situations. The biggest key from the entire run is not number 1. It's actually number 8, which is the first appearance of Captain Universe. That is a book I actually got a 9.6 on once. And then finally, we'll top it off with, and this is a perfect looking one, Micronauts number 1. Although, watch out, it's almost not worth submitting because it's such a risk, and the 9.8s are actually well below 200 bucks. That is a surprisingly low 9.8 value for, I feel, like a 70s book. You know how hard it is to get 9.8s from the 70s. So, regardless, 8's the biggest one, 1's the second biggest one, and if you can pick up 59, you're doing pretty good too. Well, this was a lot of fun. It's nice to take a look at very unique individual sets right here. And as I start to get more of this collection in, I can do this type of video again for you. I can point out the biggest keys. Now, I missed a lot of small keys, and in some of the runs, I missed even some kind of mid-tier keys. But they're out there. Those are the ones you want to find if you ever see these runs. And this is why we keep on hunting. I'll see you at the next video.
Make sure to come down to Sentiment Depot Antiques and Collectibles, where I'm set up with all of my comics, located at 238 West Delaware Ave, Pennington, New Jersey. Open every day except for Monday and Tuesday. Enjoy 10% off from Wednesday to Friday. See you there.